happy 60th anniversary of the 1965 Voting Rights Act. Huge accomplishment, especially for African Americans, having been signed by Lyndon Baines Johnson with Dr. King. That's that iconic moment with Dr. King and other noted African American civil rights icons standing around him at his desk while that bill was being signed. It is rather unfortunate that since it was signed in 65, they have been chipping away at it and working to undermine it so that it did not reach its ended and intended goal. Why is this so important? Well, modern day, this is so important because, and keep in mind, as I just said, since 65, they have been working to actually undermine this law, right? Because it's the law that gave Black folks its enfranchisement. It gave us the absolute right to say that we are just as much American and we are just as much a part of this process as anybody else. So therefore, we should have the right and we should be able to vote. Makes sense, right? Why it is so important today, because in 2013, the Supreme Court got its hands on pieces and parts of the bill, and it struck down Section 4 of the Voting Rights Act, which set the formula for Section 5, which said that Section 5, which has since pretty much been struck down itself, pretty much says that states have to get pre-clearance before they can just go off on these tangents and just start, they can, just start doing all of these various things to voting rights within their state borders, which then it then disenfranchises Black folks, Black and brown people, or I should say the brown people in the Black and brown people, because we all brown. But that's another argument for me. That's just a whole nother argument for another day. Not going to argue that today. Why it is so important further is if we still had Section 4, Section 5 in place of the Voting Rights Act, a lot of what we see happening with Texas, what we saw happen with North Carolina a few years back when North Carolina said their legislature went through and gerrymandered so that they could gerrymander out Democratic seats and gerrymander in Republican seats. What we see with a number of other southern states who draw these arcane kind of crazy looking maps that make absolutely no sense to anyone, just to pull people into certain districts so they can strengthen Republican held bastions and put out Democratic ones. All of that stuff would have to have been pre-cleared. They would have had to bring that to the Justice Department and say, look at this map. We argue that this map will not disenfranchise the vote. It will do this, this, and this. And it's then up to the government to say yes or no. No, it will do exactly what you say it won't do, or okay, we can allow this to happen because we can see where this won't happen, right? So that's why federal government is needed. Federal government is needed as a stopgap measure to protect its citizens. Because what we see, especially in these here Americas, these here United States of Americas, I'm going to call a spade a spade. White folks ain't willing to play fair. They're just not. They're going to do everything that they possibly can to prop up and hold up whiteness. So, having said that, again, happy 60th anniversary. This is why laws matter. This is why voting matters. Because now we live in a point in time where if people would just stop, would come out of their comfort zones, you're not voting to marry people. You are voting for what is in your best interest. You are voting for people who will hold high standards for everybody in society. We live in community. So we have to act like we live in society and we live in community, right? So, therefore, this is why voting matters. Voting matters so that you can keep your franchise to vote. Happy 60th anniversary. At this point, don't know what that really means, because they are literally working to unexercise your ability and your right to vote. I realize I've been kind of crooked off camera all this time, but I'm not doing this over. Anyway, happy anniversary. Have a good one. Get out and vote. It's your right to do so.